Alright, so before moving into the next lesson, let's do a quick revision or quick summary on what we have just learned. So we know that we want to use enums for static content, and let's do a quick revision on what an enum is. We know that it's a special class, we just saw, that kind of holds together a group of constants, a group of hard-coded values. And the big question is, when should we use enums? Well, a very good example was that we just have done with the restaurant type. So we want to use enums when we want to store static content, and that content is usually based on multiple cases. So if we have multiple predefined cases and some hard-coded values within the app, that's a good sign that we could use an enum. And our example was with the restaurant types, as I just said, and that was an entity type that had multiple values. So we had the text, we had the drawable ID, we had the color ID, and all of those were dependent on a predefined and multiple predefined cases. The drive-through restaurant type, the eating, the takeaway restaurant type, all of these had some predefined values that we had to hardcode in the app. And instead of doing a lot of whens within the app and deciding, hey, which type is here based on a string, the restaurant type from the server, let's do this, this, and this, we basically have assigned a restaurant type enum to the restaurant with all the hard-coded values there, and we didn't had the need to do all of those when, all of those decision-making statements. So it was really easy and really simplified our code. Now, we can also use enums when we have, for example, a screen, a form screen. This is a good example when you have multiple views that can change based on the form type. If you have multiple form types, predefined cases of forms, and you have to show or hide some buttons, some text, you can actually store the visibility constant, the visibility values within the enum, and just pass an enum to that form screen. And that form screen is going to basically just bind what it has from the enum, all of those visibility values, all of the text values, and so. Now also, it's a good idea to use an enum when we have to basically enforce a type. So if the app that we are working on has 3 types of cars, for example, instead of defining the type as a string and basically allowing the app to handle a string, we can define an enum type, an enum class. And this kind of enum is going to basically enforce the app in telling it that, hey, you have to basically manage a type, an enum, and not a random string. So this is a very good idea, and a very good example is that when we have an adapter that can have multiple views, different views, we are going to have different view holders. And we can basically have an enum that holds all of those view holder types. So if we have a type A or a type B of view, we basically pass the enum, and dependent on the enum, we can see which view holder we are going to bind or not. So this is a much better idea than using a string, because somebody can come in your code later and pass a different string and basically break your logic. And this way we kind of make sure that we are going to also always work actually with enums. So this is basically, these are the 2 main cases that I really found in real world apps to use. And let's go to the next lesson.